In a land of rolling green hills and sun-drenched fields, lived a young man named Alias. He wasn't born into wealth or power, but he had a spirit as strong as the ancient oaks that dotted the landscape. His days were spent in the forge, his father's hammer echoing in his hands, shaping metal with a skill that seemed almost magical. But Alias dreamed of more than just his village. He dreamed of a world beyond the horizon, of adventures he'd only read about in old scrolls. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, a traveler arrived in his village, weary and worn. The man spoke of a legendary artifact, the Sunstone, said to hold the power to heal any ailment and bring prosperity to any land. But it was lost, hidden away in the treacherous Shadowfen Mountains, a place from which no one had ever returned. The traveler's own brother had ventured there, seeking the stone to save his ailing daughter, but he was never seen again. A fire ignited in Alias's heart. This was his calling, the adventure he had always yearned for. He saw the despair in the traveler's eyes and knew he couldn't stand by. He would find the Sunstone. The next morning, with a simple pack on his back and his father's finest forged sword at his side, Alias said goodbye to his village and set out towards the looming peaks of the Shadowfen Mountains. The journey was harder than he could have imagined. The forests grew dense and dark, the paths disappeared, and strange sounds echoed through the trees at night. He faced roaring rivers and crumbling cliffs, but his resolve never wavered. He thought of the traveler's daughter and the hope the Sunstone represented. It was this thought that pushed him onward, step by grueling step. After weeks of travel, he reached the foothills of the mountains. Here, he met Lyra, a skilled archer with eyes as sharp as an eagle's. She lived in a hidden community of mountain folk who protected the ancient ways. Lyra was wary of outsiders, especially those seeking the power of the Sunstone. She explained that the stone wasn't just a simple treasure. It was a source of immense natural energy, and in the wrong hands, it could bring about great destruction. Many had tried to claim it for selfish reasons, disrupting the balance of the mountains. Alias listened, his respect for her and her people growing. He told her his story, not of glory or riches, but of the promise he made to a desperate man. He spoke of healing and hope, not conquest. Lyra saw the sincerity in his eyes. She recognized a pure heart, one that didn't seek power for himself. She decided to trust him, believing that perhaps he was the one worthy of the stone's gift. But she had a condition: she would go with him. The mountains had their own guardians, and Alias would not survive them alone. Together, they ventured deeper into the Shadowfen. Lyra moved through the treacherous terrain with an elegance that amazed Alias. She taught him how to read the signs of the forest, how to listen to the wind, and how to respect the ancient spirits that dwelled there. Alias, in turn, shared his knowledge of the world below, of stories and songs from his village. A bond of friendship and trust formed between them, forged in the shared challenges of their quest. They soon discovered they were not alone. A shadowy figure, a mercenary named Kale, was also tracking the Sunstone. Kale was a ruthless warrior who sought the stone for a warlord bent on conquering the surrounding lands. He saw the stone as a weapon, a tool for power and domination. Kale's presence was a constant threat, his spies lurking in the shadows, his traps laid across their path. The quest had become a race. One day, they found a clue in an ancient ruin, a map etched into a stone tablet, detailing a hidden path through the mountains. But it was a trap. As they deciphered the map, Kale and his men ambushed them. A fierce battle erupted. Alias fought with the strength of a blacksmith, his sword a blur of steel. Lyra, with her unmatched archery, rained arrows upon their attackers from the high ground. They fought side by side, a perfect team, and managed to drive Kale back, but not before Alias was wounded. Lyra used her knowledge of mountain herbs to tend to his injury. As he recovered, they spoke of the growing danger. Kale was relentless and would stop at nothing. They knew the final confrontation was inevitable. Their journey was no longer just about finding the stone. It was about protecting it from falling into the wrong hands. Following the true path, which Lyra knew from her people's lore, they finally reached a hidden sanctuary, a breathtaking cavern illuminated by glowing crystals. And there, in the center, resting on a stone pedestal, was the Sunstone. It pulsed with a gentle, warm light, bathing the entire cave in a golden glow. It was more beautiful and powerful than Alias had ever imagined. The very air hummed with its energy. But as Alias reached for it, Kale appeared, emerging from the shadows with his remaining soldiers. He had followed them. "The stone is mine," he snarled, his eyes fixated on the prize. The final battle for the Sunstone began. The cavern echoed with the clash of swords and the whistle of arrows. Alias faced Kale in a desperate duel. Kale was a master swordsman, and his attacks were brutal and relentless. Alias was outmatched in skill, but he fought with a courage born of purpose. He wasn't fighting for power, but for people, for hope. He remembered his training at the forge, the rhythm of the hammer, the patience required to shape steel. He used his strength not just to attack, but to defend, to parry, to find an opening. Meanwhile, Lyra, a whirlwind of motion, single-handedly held off Kale's men, her arrows finding their mark with deadly precision. In a pivotal moment, Kale disarmed Alias, sending his sword clattering across the cavern floor. As Kale raised his blade for the final blow, Alias, thinking fast, grabbed a loose rock and hurled it at a cluster of glowing crystals above Kale. The crystals shattered, raining down sharp fragments and creating a blinding flash of light. Disoriented, Kale staggered back, giving Alias the precious seconds he needed. He scrambled for his sword and, with a powerful surge, managed to overpower the mercenary, knocking him unconscious. With the threat neutralized, a profound silence fell over the cavern, broken only by the gentle hum of the Sunstone. Alias and Lyra stood together, bruised but victorious. Alias looked at the stone, its light seeming to welcome him. He finally reached out and took it. As his fingers touched its smooth surface, a wave of warmth and energy washed over him, healing his wounds and filling him with a sense of peace. The power was immense, but it was not corrupting. It was pure, like life itself. Their journey was not over. They returned from the mountains, not as conquerors, but as guardians. They delivered the Sunstone to the traveler, and its light healed his daughter, bringing joy back to his family. The news spread, but Alias and Lyra made it clear the stone was not a prize to be won. It was a sacred gift to be shared, to be used for healing, not for war. Alias chose not to return to his old life. His adventure had changed him. He had found a new purpose. Alongside Lyra, he became a protector of the balance between the human world and the ancient magic of the mountains. They ensured the Sunstone was used wisely, helping those in need, but guarding it from those with greed in their hearts. Alias the blacksmith had become Alias the guardian, his strength now used not to shape metal, but to shape a better, more hopeful future. He had sought adventure, and in the end, he had found something far greater, a calling, a partner, and the knowledge that true power lies not in what you can take, but in what you can give. And his legend, whispered on the wind from the highest mountain peaks to the quietest village valleys, was just beginning.